Worst Things First podcast is where ordinary people have the type of conversations that reveal the extraordinary in all of us. Every walk of life has a downside. Now let's start at the bottom. Now, if you hear this rhyme, then you already know the time. You are back with W.T.F.P, Worst Things First podcast. Today's guest, a member of the United States Army, 101st Airborne Division, drafted into the Vietnam War. BUTCH. How you doing today, sir?
Pretty good.
It is an honor to have you here. Thank you for joining us. And I think we will jump right into it. Now, typically, we start with the worst aspect of someone's walk of life. Considering the nature of the subject matter today, it sounds like that may be embedded throughout a lot of it. And so what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, is to kind of just go back to the beginning. When you first heard of the war, when it first came on your radar, where were you living? Were you working? Were you in school? Were you partying? What were you doing, sir?
I worked for a packing house in St. Paul when I heard about the war, and then it didn't take long, then I was drafted.
So you were drafted. What were your thoughts towards the war at that time, or towards joining the military at all? I
really didn't want to go because I thought that war really didn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense to me, but you had to go. Some people chose Canada, and I just couldn't do it. But I chose to fulfill it, and after the fact, I can honestly say it was a waste of time.
Yeah,
we didn't accomplish nothing at all.
How was the war presented by the government at that time? In terms of how did they position it in regards to the reasoning for it? Why we need to be there?
They wanted to stop communists from coming into the South Vietnam.
Okay.
And, I'm not sure. South Vietnam didn't want it either, but they accepted us.
Right. How did you view Muhammad Ali at that time? You talked about people that, some people went to Canada.
It really didn't. My opinion is that everybody's got their own thing.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do. I to this day don't criticize anybody for what they did. I let them come back in. I don't care.
I got you. Were you into music at that time?
In the what?
Into music.
Yeah.
What was playing at that time? What were you into then?
What was that? That movie, the radio entertainer. What am I trying to say?
Is it a war-based movie?
Yeah,
Apocalypse Now.
He was over in Vietnam, posing as a radio.
Morning Vietnam.
There, that whole scenario was really, really popular. All them songs on that deal was really popular. Okay. I want to go home and all that.
Okay. So you were drafted. How did that come about? Did you receive a letter? Did you receive a phone call? How does this work?
Yeah, I had a little boy. He was 6 months, and I was 3A. And then he died, which put me to 1A. And just immediately, I got a letter. Actually, the sheriff came to the door with the letter. I was in St. Paul at that time, St. Paul Park, and gave me the letter.
What's 3A and what's 1A?
3A is you probably won't have to go to the service because you got a wife and children.
Okay.
And 1A is you're gone. You're gone.
Okay.
The unique part about this, I got to tell you this: when the sheriff came to the door, I had a sister-in-law that was living with us at that time. She thought I was at the door, but it was the sheriff.
Okay.
And she told the sheriff, "Get the hell out of here, Butch." She wouldn't let him in. This went on for about 15 minutes, and finally she let him in and felt really dumb.
15 minutes. Damn, it would have been easier.
They argued
just,
back and forth.
It would have been easier just to answer the door.
I know. But she thought it was me and she wasn't going to give in.
Okay. So he comes. She finally opens the door. What happens next? He says what?
Well, he told her that he gave her the letter to give to me. And then basically I was gone because you got to remember 1968, there was a Tet Offensive. And a lot of people got killed and hurt. And so they were short, of people. So, which is the reason I got drafted right away because they needed people bad.
And you would say the people, how old were you at the time?
I was younger. I mean, I was older than my 21st birthday was in Vietnam. And a lot of people got drafted at 18, 19. But because, I was 3A, I didn't have to go right away.
Okay. So you talked about the Tet Offensive. At that time, you were 21. Was everyone pretty much around you aware of the Tet Offensive? It was that type of thing that you knew about all the time?
See, we weren't in at the Tet Offensive, but
right.
At 60, let's see, June of 69 to June of 70, that's when I went.
Okay.
And just about a whole bunch of them got drafted at that time.
When did the 3A and the 1A, when did that rating come about? When did they conduct the ratings? You know what I mean? When
I was in Vietnam, they quit that. And then they went to a number system.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the 3A and 1A didn't exist anymore.
Okay. But when did that assessment first take place? Was it just part of the census that was occurring? You know what I'm trying to get at? I'm trying to figure out at what point the government determined who was 3A and who was 1A. When did they go around and collect that info?
Well, I think if you were married and you were the only child at home, with your mother, you didn't have, two parents. And I don't know what went wrong. I was married, but my mother I was the only one there with her, but it didn't make any difference for me. But
so as far as you know, this is just behind the scenes. The government is using records, marriage certificates and stuff like that to classify people.
And if you weren't 3A and you were married and had a baby, you just had to bring the paperwork up and show them and they'd reclassify you.
Yeah. So what went through your mind at the time?
I really didn't want to go. Oh,
yeah.
God, I'd have done anything, but and then my mom had I won't mention a person say that he went to his church and got him out of going to Vietnam. And he kind of told my mom that, why did you let him go? You wouldn't have had to, Of course, she felt bad about that.
What measures could the church take to get people out?
I don't know how that worked.
Okay.
Unless the father was the only one there or whatever happened. But
so how long between the time you received that communication, that letter, and when you suddenly had to ship out or go to training? You were on your way somewhere.
Right away. We went to Fort Campbell, Kentucky for 9 weeks. Then Fort Polk, Louisiana. Then you had 1 month off to get your stuff together. And then you shipped out or flew.
See, normally I would ask you how hard you partied during that 1 month off.
Pretty good. Pretty
good. Okay. I was going to say, but you were grown and married. Okay. But you still got into it.
Yeah. No, I wasn't married then. I mean, there was a separation in between then.
Okay.
So I had no ties with anybody.
Okay. So you were to the moon at the parties then. This man was out
I didn't
of control.
have to worry about nobody but me.
Okay.
And I did.
Yeah. What was your thought process there? Would you say at that point in time, a lot of people were preparing to not come back? Was that the
the scary part? What they put into your head is and I had a very, very good friend from Sibley, Iowa. He went in at Tet Offensive, died 2 months later. They always say if you're going to, not always, but usually you'll probably die the first 2 months or the last 2. And that's scary as hell, that
Yeah.
last.
What was training like?
Not too bad. It's for, because I was pretty physical fit, not totally, but some of them had a hell of a time. They pissed their pants in bed, and then they had to hang the sheets out every morning in front of 300 people. And that made them even worse. So they finally let them out. And they had a couple other ones, like when you had to run, they just couldn't do it. I mean, they laid on the ground and bawled, a couple of them, and and they were so damn hard on them that you felt sorry for them, really.
Yeah, I could imagine.
I mean, if you can't do it, damn it, you can't do it.
Yeah, I could imagine during that time frame, because people were drafted. There were so many unwilling people who probably weren't mentally, emotionally, psychologically prepared, that you probably had a higher percentage of people that you see that they have to bail out of the situation. They're not fit for it, So that's
usually the majority of them did good.
Did you ever get the sense that there was any lowering of a standard for the military just to get more in, whether or not they were ready? They're ready enough.
Oh, they sent you. You think you're ready when you're here, like Fort Polk, Louisiana. They got you crawling in the ground and shooting live ammunition over you.
Yeah.
But that's a different ballgame. When you get to Vietnam, hell, they're there to shoot you. I mean, it's for real then.
No doubt.
I mean, it takes a few days to get your shit together to realize that, God damn it, they're going to shoot me,
Okay. Now all right.
And you can't talk them, it's not like you can talk them out of it and say, let's talk about this.
Right.
They don't like you.
Was there, now you're getting me hungry. We're going to get there. We're going to get to that point when you're finally there at Vietnam. But so you're in training. Was there any desensitizing of the thought of killing? Was there a means of making the enemy seem like less human? What did they do during training to really condition you?
It's not so much during training, but when you get to Vietnam, it gets to be like when you're there for a while, it's no different than me going out shooting a pheasant or a deer.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you get a person, capture a person, get him to the rear and he's alive, they'll, they give you beer and pat you on the back and you're a good kid. You did good.
Yeah.
But
did your clothes and boots fit?
Yeah, they did. But you were out in the field from anywhere from 4 weeks to 6 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And you wore them clothes for that time. Yeah, you smelled, but you all smelled alike. So it really didn't make a hell of a lot of difference.
For sure. You laughed when I said that. Was there somebody whose clothes and boots didn't fit?
Well, no, yeah. The reason I say that is an instant sergeant. You can become a sergeant if you take special training here in the States. Then when you get to Vietnam, you're you're the big boss. Well, we had one of them come, and one evening we were getting ready to bed down, and he starts taking his pants and shirt off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bud, you might want to leave them on because there's times we got to leave here rather quick. They just stupid shit like that.
Yeah. Before we keep going, when I asked how soon you had to ship out after receiving the letter, being notified, you said right away. What's right away?
Like 30 days. You had 30 days to get your shit together. And
After this training, is this a situation where you can, or I guess during the training, I'm not a military person at all. I have a brother and sister who are both in the military. They're both Air Force. My grandfather was an officer in the Air Force. My mother's brother, sister, and sister were all Navy. So it's like half my family is, half isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So when I ask you some of these questions, it's not only for my sake, but also for our audience sake to be informed and educated. Yep. So while you're going through this training, do you have the opportunity to say to them, hey, this is what I want to pursue? Or at that time, was the need so great, you're going to do what they tell you to do?
You didn't have a choice.
Okay.
Just about all of us went to infantry.
Okay.
Yeah, they needed infantry, grunt, they call them too. They needed them really bad, and they didn't. Everybody went just about.
Yeah. So training is 9 weeks.
Yep. 9 weeks basic and 9 weeks AIT.
That's advanced infantry
Right.
training?
Yep.
Okay. What's that consist of?
Basically the same thing, only a little. That's when you use live fire. You throw hand grenades.
Okay.
And shoot and. Yeah, they go through you pretty good or get to you pretty good.
This is going to sound like a stupid question, but somebody posted it online today, and I feel like I got the opportunity to get back to them and give them an answer. If you pull the pin out of a grenade, can you put it back in?
Yeah, and that's kind of unique that you bring that up. You know, after I told you, when you're there a while, you get a little macho.
Mm-hmm.
When you pull the pin out of a hand grenade, there's a spoon on it. You got to hold the spoon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You can pull the pin, you can put it back in, you can do anything you want. But when you pop that spoon off, you better be getting rid of it because it's going to go off.
Right.
The spoon. And we got to be, some of us, you pull the pin, pop the spoon, count to 3, and then throw it.
Mm-hmm.
And that way it goes off in the air and it's more effective, the shrapnel. Otherwise it goes off in the ground and you lose that little bit of, but you're taking a hell of a chance too that if you don't fuck around counting to 3 is what I'm trying to say.
Right. No doubt. No doubt. So after this 9 weeks, at what point do you get assigned to a particular unit?
Right now, I mean, when you're done with, before you go on your 30-day leave,
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll call you out, so-and-so infantry, and they're just damn near all of us were infantry.
Okay.
They had the orders, the paperwork there, and everything was ready to go.
And so at some point you get assigned or become part of the 101st Airborne Division.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to do a little research on things. I know that is a highly heralded division of the Army, much like the 82nd Airborne.
Right, yep.
I know at some point there was some distinction because the 82nd, there's paratroopers are dropping out of the plane onto the battlefield. With the 101st, it eventually became an air assault division, right?
See, that's when you do the helicopters.
Yeah, okay, yep.
The air assault in Vietnam. I never jumped out of a plane because I'm scared to death of heights, and I'm not sure I'd have did everything not to.
Yeah, I hear you. Hold on. You said, were there exercises where they were pushing people towards that and you just found yourself at the back of the line all the time until time ran out, or what?
No, you mean for jumping out of a...
Yeah.
No, they never made us do it.
Okay.
They made us rappel, and that was damn near as bad. We had to slide down a rope 100 feet up.
Yeah.
It scared the living.
It never got any easier?
No, I only did it once. They only made us do it once.
Did it ever occur to you that they've got you doing all this crazy shit and you understand that it's to prepare you for something, but you're only doing each one of those things twice? Right.
They're looking at, you got to remember now we're in the mountains. We're not on the lowlands. So a helicopter can't land any place. We have to clear an area out for the helicopter to land. And sometimes we can't get all the way to the ground. So you either got to jump or they were preparing us to slide down a rope.
That's why we see that on movies where they just float for a second above the ground and then people jump down from there.
Right.
Anybody ever get injured on the jump?
Not that I'm aware of. Getting back to that rappelling, I was the very second to the last person to jump out. And you're standing on the skid of the helicopter, and I looked down, and I said to myself, bullshit, I'm not going to do this. Yeah. And I was getting ready to go back in the helicopter when the pilot looked at me, and he tipped it, and then I fell.
Oh, wow.
God, I tell you, that was a thrill.
Yeah. So break this down for me, man, because you always hear, as a layman who has nothing to do with the military, you hear brigade, division, company. You're first of 506 company?
Right.
What does that
battalion.
mean? Okay, what is that? What is a company? How can you explain this for our listeners?
Like when I say first of the 506, that's the big. There's the first of the 506 and 501 and 502. Then you got the battalion, and then the company, like we would be like company A or company B, and you would have 20, 25 people in that.
Okay.
And that battalion would have, like 4 or 5 companies.
Okay. So within at that time, as part of the 101st Airborne Division, there's several battalions, and each one of those battalions has 4 to 5 companies within it.
Right.
And each one of those may contain.
It's like a state, counties,
Got you.
That type of. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. About 25 to 30 people.
Yeah.
If you were full force. But.
Okay. And talk to me about the E4, E5 thing. What's that?
When we go into the Army, you're E1.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you get to Vietnam, pretty much everyone is E2. And then the next step would be E3, a sergeant. No. A sergeant is E5 is a sergeant.
Okay.
Spec 4, that's what you are in Vietnam, most of you. And 6 of us got to take a little test. They only needed a couple sergeants, and only 2 got it, but 4 of us got paid for it.
Mm.
And I never said a word to anybody. I just told Mom to chuck that money away because it was more pay.
Okay.
I said, just chuck it away in case I get caught. And she did. And then the last day in Fort Carson, Colorado, we were discharged.
Mm-hmm.
And I had Spec 4 things on my shoulder.
Yeah.
So I really didn't show them off when they gave me sergeant pay for that. I just kind of backed up a little bit.
Okay.
But I got by with it.
So how did payment occur? Let me ask this question. When was the first check or payment you received? Were you still in training? Was it after training?
No, you were in training. You didn't get a hell of a lot, 100 or 2. Okay. But I think in Vietnam, we got $100 hazardous pay and $250, I think, for regular pay. Okay. $250, $300. $100 hazardous pay wasn't a hell of a lot for getting shot at, Right. You couldn't drink beer at home, but you could get shot at in Vietnam.
Yeah, that's crazy. So there wasn't ever a time where the pay then compensated for the plight you were in?
No.
Okay. How did payment occur? You said something about Mom put that check away. Is it sent home? Is it sent to you?
Yep.
Okay. So are you using anything for currency while you're over there?
Yeah, you got Vietnamese money Vietnamese money.
Okay.
And you can buy stuff from the PX with that. And like cigarettes was a quarter, I think. 25 cents.
And so if your checks are going home, what's happening? Are you receiving like a stipend over there?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So.
Yeah, because you don't want to keep that money around because there's too many people with. Like I sent a watch like you got on home. I shouldn't have brought it in the first place because the company gave it to me and it never made it because they check all mail and somebody apparently liked it and kept it.
Oh, wow. If it makes you feel any better, this watch doesn't work. And none of my watches work. So 69 June is when you go over. I think the Battle of Hamburger Hill was like May 69-ish, wasn't it?
How did you know I was going to tell you that? Yeah, I got there in June. We landed and we all got taken to a big barracks. And they talked to us about basically behaving with ladies and sex and all that kind of stuff. They showed us pictures of men and ladies, what happens when they don't behave, which was enough to scare hell out of you.
What was that?
Their equipment was pretty much rotted off.
Okay.
It was not good.
STD type of action? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
So I had a good talk with myself and said, that ain't going to happen here.
Real quick, I don't know if this is just legend or lore or what, but I remember being a little kid and someone talking about over there in wartime, ladies would actually insert like weapons or razors and
Yeah,
stuff
right.
down there.
I heard that too, and I never did get involved with them because we were out in the field most of the time. But I can tell you, one fellow went to Saigon, went to a massage parlor, took his clothes off, and there's a little kid underneath the table as a massage table, and he's cleaning out the pocketbook of the dude.
Yeah.
Because you got to pay ahead of time. So when he was all done with the massage, he never checked his billfold until later, and there was no money left.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, I would not have nothing to do with them. And it was reasonable. They'd always come up to you and say, fuck you, my sister, $5. But God, that $5 could cost you. Oh.
Yeah. No. So where did you land? Where did you?
In Saigon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the safest place at that time.
So you landed in Saigon. They're briefing you on being careful about the getting lulled into shit with women and whoever. That's right around the time, maybe shortly after the epic battle at Hamburger Hill, correct?
Yes, and that's where we went. Right from there, we went to Hamburger Hill. We surrounded the perimeter of Hamburger Hill, and I was in a foxhole that was protecting a 50 caliber machine gun and a cannon, 105 howitzer that was shooting big rounds up to the mountain. Scared as hell. I mean, every time he shot, the ground shook. Oh, God, for 2 cents, I'd have went home right there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and that was the most worthless. Hamburger Hill was terrible. I mean, so many people got hurt and killed.
Yeah.
They were going to use that for, to oversee Ashaw Valley. Shit, they left that vacant.
Did they?
Yep. You can go up. Barb and I went to, my wife and I went up to Vietnam a couple of years ago. Yeah. You can tour, they got a deal. You can go up to see it, but no desire.
I'm definitely going to circle back around to that because I want to talk about, or have you talk about what thoughts, if any, that evoked from you returning there. But so you go to Vietnam. When you first step off of the plane, what are you feeling? What are you sensing? Smells, temperature? Talk to me about that.
Heat. It was hot.
Okay.
Humid as heck. And you're really, God, you're uptight because everything is going so quick, and they're really pushing you to get the hell out of here, I mean, get you out in the field because they need help bad. And they did.
Did they say anything? I watch all these interviews and stories and people say that, right as they were getting off of the plane, people are saying to them, all right, you got a life expectancy of about 8 seconds. Did you ever hear anything like that?
No, but what's really depressing is when you're getting off the plane, there's 2 lines.
Yeah.
One going on and one coming off. Oh my God, is that depressing? You just, ooh.
So you're relieving soldiers who were going home.
Right, yep.
How did those soldiers behave towards you guys?
It basically good luck. They were nice to us, but they're so goddamn happy to go home that, and I can relate to that same thing. But
on the trip over there, how quiet and somber was it, or how loud was it?
Quiet.
Okay.
It was nobody talked, hardly any.
People coming to terms with what they may be facing.
Right.
What kind of gear or weapon were you equipped with?
I had a M16, the first quite a while, about 6 months, I suppose. And then I took the M60 machine gun for a while. And then I was big on hand grenades because that's your last resort. If things go to hell, you got them to back up on. But and then you have right behind you outside, you have a telephone box. And it's shaped, I was telling the girls, it's shaped exactly like a Claymore mine.
Oh, okay.
And the Claymore mine's got 750 steel balls in it with C4 dynamite behind it. And boy, that'll do a job if you place them out. Everybody carried one of them.
About how many pounds of equipment would you say you're carrying?
Our pack was, before I had the machine gun, it was lighter, but the pack is, if you look at them, 65 pounds, somewhere in there, 60, 65, because you had food, ammo, and claymore mine, and
What was food?
Yeah.
Sea rations?
Yep, in a can. Then you had to heat them up, and you took, this is forbidden, but if you had an extra claymore mine, you took that dynamite out of the back. They call it C4. Break off a chunk and light it.
Yeah.
And then that'll heat up and heat your sea rations.
Why'd you say this was forbidden? Like I went already doing all types of wild shit.
You're defaulting the government's equipment. Like that claymore mine isn't as effective as you taking that C4 out of there.
Yeah. How we're go ahead.
They weren't that strict out there. Hell, we didn't do much radio talk, like it was, when you called in an airstrike, it was, hey bud, how can I help you? Show me where you want the bomb. It was just like me and you on a telephone.
How were sea rations?
Oh God, not real good.
Were there any that you dug, that you liked, or that were your favorite?
I was really proud of. I ate pound cakes galore until there was one hair in it. I mean, a big long hair.
A hair?
Yes, Christ Almighty!
You motherfuckers over there, it's wild and people are dying and shit. And you worried about a hair, Butch?
You damn right. I don't like hair.
All right, now
spaghetti was good.
Okay.
Well, I guess it's better than eating rat, but
yeah, no doubt. Was that happening?
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
Hell, even today.
Yeah. Were there ever, and I do want to get to a point, for the sake of people understanding the two different types of enemies maybe you were facing over there. Was there ever a time where you integrated or interacted or engaged with the people, the native people there? Was that a danger or concern?
They weren't really gung ho. I mean, they'd take off on a, if they got into a pickle, they'd take off in a heartbeat. I think they weren't really aggressive. You're better off without them. They tried to train them, but that BC was so much more tougher than they were.
Talk about that. Talk about the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese army. Because I think I was fascinated to learn that you were over there facing not just one enemy, but
they're tough. They're really tough. They
who specifically? Who are you referring to?
The Viet Cong. They're in I wasn't there, but in 1968 they had thousands and thousands of VC or Viet Cong, whatever you want to call them, surrounding towns, and they just invaded them, and we got our ass kicked bad by them. But typically, where we were in the mountains, you'd only run into a couple at a time, typically. But there's been a few times that, like I'll tell you, in June, where we ran into a battalion. Okay. Son of a bitch, you're done.
Yeah,
you can't do anything. That same situation with Hamburger Hill. They got a whole bunch of people killed, stupid, worthless. It's, when you lose, when two or three or four people are dead, we can't go without them people. We have to get them. And I have no problem picking up dead people. I'll do it. But when you get normal people when you get people killed trying to get people,
yeah,
you're wasting your time, for Christ's sake. Yeah. You do something else. Oh my God.
Yeah. How did the Viet Cong look? And did you, for clarity, did you also encounter the North Vietnamese army?
Well, Viet Cong and North Vietnamese, they're pretty much alike.
Okay.
Some of them are a little better dressed. The further you get to the north, to the DMC,
yeah,
they're a little better dressed. the ones that are walking around where we were, I mean, they may be coming from Hanoi. Christ, I don't know how many miles with hardly any ammunition.
Yeah.
You know, they're hardcore kids.
Yeah, I've heard some vets talk about them and say that, you know, they almost got the feeling that those with the North Vietnamese Army were trained soldiers like we were trained.
Yep,
and
yep.
the Viet Cong were more like, you know,
Hanoi, you know, that's where they get the high dollar. I mean, the good.
Okay. So you get out, and I have to ask you this, man, because I've seen 1,000 interviews when you talk about the heat when you first got there, when you got off, and the humidity. The number 140 degrees is often thrown out there. Is that a real thing?
I don't know that it was that hot. I would really get me the worst. Maybe they're talking, what do you call it?
Like a heat index.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would guess that would be it. That damn humidity, man. Because during the monsoons, every morning that son of a gun would rain and rain and rain. I mean, bad. And then the sun would come out and just bake the shit out of you. Oh.
Were monsoons essentially the showers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they were showers. It was a downpour. And if you were in the mountains coming down, you had to be careful because when that water come down there, it was booking, boy, pretty good.
Cause mudslides of any sort?
No, because that vegetation is so damn thick up there.
Okay.
When you walk in the mountains, it's actually in some spots dark. I have pictures I could show you sometime. It's totally dark. And that's why it's a lot safer in the mountains than the lowlands. You know, you don't typically, we didn't run in nose to nose with anybody. On occasion we did, like coming down a stream but
you would think being in the mountains that anyone you'd encounter there would be more skilled and adept, because they're mountain folk or they're used to traversing it. But are you saying it was safer to be there just because it was less? You're going to encounter less people?
It was less people, I should say.
Okay.
Until I got to back up again, until you start talking about a battalion if they're dug into the mountain, a battalion of them.
Yeah.
Shit, forget it. You're done. You're not done, but you got your hands full.
Yeah. What kind of wildlife did you see?
Oh, snakes. These big bee nests. That was, they had us looking for elephants. Shit, I never seen an elephant over there. We had problems with, in the Ashaw Valley, we were looking for an elephant. We never did find, but we tried to cross a little swamp. And oh my God, everybody got leeches on them.
I was going to ask about leeches.
Oh God. I had them all over. And we had to back out of there and take our clothes off and help everybody get them off. And you can't really pull them off because you leave their head in there and that'll get infected. But they sent us out a bunch of insect repellent.
Yeah.
Flew it out. So, one of them had a leech in his penis that got in there. He had to go to the rear. Oh, that wasn't a good sight.
I should have told you before we started, no penis talk, man. I get anything that has to do with nether regions, it gets my stomach weak, man. No, you're good. I was actually going to ask about leeches. Did you stop wearing underwear?
Yes. I never wore underwear the whole time because it irritates you. That's the last thing, like the monsoons. Now that'd be the last thing to dry out.
Yeah.
And if you look at, I got pictures. You really got to watch your socks too, because you'll get jungle rot, which I did have.
What is jungle rot?
Your skin, like above my ankle, all the skin rotted off because it's wet all the time.
Oh, it doesn't have, is it not just because it's wet, but also the quality of the water, or is it just like moisture will do that?
Moisture all the time, and then heat. And then when the skin drops off, then you got flies eating on it. But I ended up going to the rear with that for a while to let it dry out.
When you say going to the rear, what's that mean?
Oh, to the base camp. You know, the main where everybody flew out of. All the supplies came in.
Okay.
Pretty well secured, really secured.
So everyone feels safe there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like when we come out of the field, they had their own people to take care of the base, so we could basically get pissed up and do whatever you wanted to.
How far is it from the location in the field to the base?
So I'm talking Esau Valley. That's basically where we were, way in that town there. 10 miles, I suppose.
Okay. What's the furthest that any company or battalion may ever be from a base? Is that pretty average?
I would guess so. 10, 15 maybe miles.
Okay. And how long usually are you out in the field before returning to the base?
4 to 6 weeks we ended up being. Okay. And when I say out in the field, some of the time you're going to be on a fire base. And a fire base consists of a lot of big guns out there where when a company is in trouble, he calls in for airstrikes. So then these guys shoot off the 155s or the 105s, the big guns and little bomb support.
Yeah. And
then we're there, or somebody is around there to take care of them to make sure they're safe.
You know, a lot of us watch war movies. We see people pull up this thing that the phone looks like it's a big ass. It looks damn near like this mixture thing that I have her sitting next to me, you know, in a big ass case. And, you know, but to our knowledge, this is before cell phones and all this other shit. Like, what is the technology? What is happening with that? Is it essentially an advanced walkie-talkie, and that's why you don't go too far?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
It's it'll get to other companies, you know, and the base, and like when you need airstrikes and you need them now, you call them and tell them. You give them your coordinates. You know, both of you got maps and so when they shoot off a round, the first round is going to be a smoke round. And you watch where it lands and you tell them, you know, you go to the left, to the right, or further, you know, with the live round.
You mentioned, since you brought it up, you mentioned the insect repellent. I heard that repellent was legendary, that it really worked.
Yeah, they
worked for real.
They fall right, them leeches fell right off with them things.
Oh, you sprayed it directly on the leeches.
Yeah.
And that one dude had to spray it on his little wee-wee.
Well, I don't know what they did with him, if they cut it off or what.
Oh, okay.
He got to go to the rear.
Oh, I hope so. Shit. Man,
no, I don't know.
So.
I suppose they had just pulled it out. Or
when you're out in the field, how did you sleep?
Just on the ground.
Directly? Were you digging holes, or was it?
No. We just directly on the ground. Unless you run into a battalion of, if they have you pinned down, damn right, dig a hole and crawl in it.
Yeah.
But typically, we slept on the ground.
When you bed down for the night, are you spraying around yourself with that repellent? That's not a
no.
Okay.
No, you're just in front of God and everybody.
I got you. You know anybody over there with malaria?
You know, we had shots for that. I'm not sure if anybody ever got that or not.
So you show up there. They're talking about be careful with the women. You're realizing it's almost as hot as Iowa can get in the summertime and humid. And how quickly before you get off a plane, before there's action, it's going down, you're involved in something?
You know, it's, other than Hamburger Hill, it was a while after that.
Okay.
We had two like in May of 1970, that was a really, really bad one. But otherwise, it was just typically, well, we've had 2 or 3 of them where you run into not a battalion, but more than you can handle. You had to call in B-50, or not B-52s, but you call Saigon and tell them, you know, bring a jet over.
Okay.
Because people on the other side of the mountain here are lobbing in mortars. And they're just being a nuisance, so you got to get rid of them. You just have that jet come in, and he drops a few rounds in there, and they go away. Either if you didn't kill them, they got the hell out of there.
Yeah. Did you feel well supported in that regard?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'd never want to be without the Air Force over there.
Okay.
Because you're shit out of luck if.
You talked about the M16. I've heard people talk about the M14. Were you familiar with that as well?
We had trained with the M14. The M16, you got to remember, they hadn't been out that long, and you really had to keep them clean. Like the Russian AK-47 that the VC had, you could drag that through mud and that damn thing would fire. But ours,
that's why you see in the movies the soldiers walking through a stream or
keep them up.
Above the head. Okay.
Keep them clean because it had a 20-round clip, but I wouldn't put my life on the last 2 rounds coming out. That clip wasn't that great back then.
What do you mean?
The spring in the clip didn't sometimes wouldn't push the last 2 rounds out.
Oh, okay, I think I heard about
and
that.
we were fully automatic. I mean, we could go 3 seconds that whole, which was a waste of ammo and time. But now I think they got a 3-round burst.
Okay.
Which is plenty.
At that point in time, were you keeping in contact with, what do they call it, the world?
Yeah, I wrote home pretty. As a matter of fact, I just found some letters that I sent to my mom. And I called her once.
How'd you do that?
Over the phone. They had some kind of a phone.
Okay.
I guess it was kind of spendy. My sister said it cost quite a bit, but she probably wouldn't have said that if I'd have died there. I mean,
I'm sure not.
What the hell is $300? I don't know what it costs.
You call collect then.
Yeah.
But you wild, man. You a wild boy.
But he had, what the hell? She had my money. All she had to do is pay for it.
True enough. Hey, look, Butch, I'm just collecting the facts.
No, I know.
That's all I'm doing is collecting the facts. Okay. How often would you say you were writing these letters?
I was pretty good. There's a whole shoebox full of them at home.
How long, how do I want to ask this question? Did you receive letters back regularly?
Oh, yeah. We got like the first of every month, roughly, I got a Portals to Prayer from my mom. I carried it in my pocket.
What's it called?
Portals to Prayer. It was just a little hymnal, or not hymnal, but like a little Bible, verses out of a Bible.
Okay.
And then a half a gallon of malted milk balls that I shared with my, not willingly, but everybody ate the shit out of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I got letters from people that.
How did you feel about religion prior to going there? And then once you were there and started to see what you saw?
You know, I wasn't I was brought up Trinity Lutheran, and I didn't go to church a lot, but I believed in. But then when we got over there, we had mainly priest that came out, and sure. if you got into a pickle and you had people die, they come out and upped your morale a little bit and prayed for you. And yeah, that they did a pretty good job.
Yeah. How did you refer to I've heard people say that back home wasn't really the phrase. The real world was kind of the phrase. What did you hear?
Yeah, that too. Yep.
Yeah.
They wanted to go home.
Yep. At that time, were you, I know you said you were partying it up. I heard all of that. But at that time, once you were deployed, was there you had no ties, no relationship at that time or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Because I was going to ask you about the whole, everybody gets that Dear John letter from the wife back home with a girlfriend.
That was all done before I got there.
Okay, you smart man.
I didn't have to worry about that. But
Yeah.
I run across one fella. We were getting the mail. We were in the at the base camp, and he was crying a little bit. Big dude. And I said, "What happened? Somebody die?" And he said, "No, my wife got married."
Damn.
Yeah. God damn it, he got to go home too.
Because of that?
Yes.
Wow.
I couldn't believe that. Wish I had a wife that would have got married.
Damn. I didn't even know they were letting people home for that reason.
They did that one. He really took it bad. And yeah, I was the only northern boy in that whole damn outfit.
Oh, okay.
There was one from Missouri, but everybody was North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia.
Did that translate into anything? Did that mean anything?
No.
Okay.
No, but I never was around Southern people or black people. I had no problem with none of them. I got along good with them. Even the guy that carried my ammunition, he was black.
Yeah.
Hell of a nice guy, but he died.
While you were there?
Mm-hmm. I picked him up.
What was that like?
Pieces.
What happened?
I was this is 2 or 3 weeks before I get to come home. They got their ass kicked bad. That's that May thing I was telling you about. He and the machine gunner was at the bottom of the hill. And they tried to get him, and they couldn't. So we had 2 B-52s come in there. We walked a mile away, and they dropped 500-pound bombs. Just penetrated that. Oh, it was something. So we went back there, and everybody was they just was shot from, they were there a week, 10 days, I think. But I ended up taking the rest of them down the hill. Just, God, I was hoping they were gone. And they were. But I picked him up, put him in a poncho. One had the top of his skull off. And then the black ammunition guy had his legs were off, arm. There was no guts, a little bit of this. We put him in a poncho and loaded him in a helicopter. Mm-hmm. And the helicopter guy said to me, "Is this his dog?" Because we had dogs too.
Oh, okay.
And there wasn't that, there was quite a bit of him left, but not, he thought it was a dog because it wasn't big enough to be a man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was sad. But they took you all to the rear after that and then did a little funeral thing to get everybody's shit back together again.
Was that common after there was like a big engagement, shit hits the fan,
Mm-hmm.
that like, okay, all those people that were involved, take them to the rear?
Yeah, because I tell you, and I wasn't there that whole time, but that's why I did chip in and do a lot of that. But these guys got their ass kicked and there's no morale. Yeah. They don't give a shit for nothing. So they take them to the rear and have that little to-do for the dead people and give them days off, and that helps.
Yeah. Did you have what you would call friends over there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We had one come out to the field. He had 365 days in. He was going to board the plane in the afternoon to go home. Mm-hmm. But we were getting supplies. And he chose to come out and wave goodbye. I got pictures of him waving goodbye to us. And the damn helicopter got shot down on the way back. And the Snoopy was the call sign of that helicopter.
What's a call sign for our audience?
Like every helicopter, they have a number, but this particular thing was Snoopy.
Okay.
So the plane, we had people looking in there. Snoopy, where are you? If you can hear us banging the helicopter. Mm-hmm. Hell, we never did find him. I'm sure they all died in it, but 365 days, and he pulls that. Yeah.
What were the do's and don'ts while you were out there? Were you in the? Was it? I know you were in the mountainous area. Was it jungle?
Yeah, pretty
Okay,
much.
Okay.
And not all the time, see, because the mountains surrounded the Ashaw Valley.
Okay.
So we were in the valley too.
Okay.
And that's where the leeches came in. And
the jungle is more along the mountain, like.
Yeah, in the mountains.
Okay.
And you had to climb them bastards. They were, like they'd say, go to hill so-and-so. So we'd walk up the hill, get up there. There's nothing up there. So go down the hill and walk up another hill. And, all of that shit could have been done from today. They shouldn't need grunts like anymore. I mean, not as many.
So, okay. So are you saying that at times it wasn't even like, hey, here's the target, go destroy this. It was more like, hey, go this way and see if anything's there we need to deal with.
Right. Exactly. You had to go look for it. They say that, we've seen activity, somebody's seen activity at a certain area.
What's activity?
People,
Anything?
yeah, VC or whatever. So you'd have to go over there, or an animal, an elephant, or you'd have to walk, for Christ's sake, up one hill and down, mountain and down the other. And
anybody run into, whether it was those punji traps or anything like that?
We didn't. I can't remember of any. Yeah, they were.
But you were warned on them.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We were schooled on them. I mean, like in the U.S., they showed us what they looked like.
Yeah.
Even when we went this time, they showed us a real live. Like my wife, they have tunnels all over.
I was going to ask you about the tunnel rats and all that sort of action.
Yeah, Barb went down them tunnels.
Oh, wow. They let people do that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And she ran across, when you go through a tunnel, pretty soon it'll be dug out over here. Yeah. And there'll be a delivery for babies. And then you walk a little further and it might be a hospital supplies over here, operation, they do operations.
Underground?
Yeah. Everything's underground. 3 levels.
3 vertical levels.
Oh, no, you go down. There's 3 levels like here, horizontal.
Okay.
You go down a little further, if I understood her right. There's horizontal here.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, but on top of each other.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, damn. Wow. Okay.
And don't ever go in them, like in...
I'm not.
No, I mean, if we... during our wartime, if you found a tunnel, there's probably going to be a booby trap in there. Yeah. Could be, or...
Yeah.
And you got to be a little dude to do it, too.
I heard about... sometimes when I can't remember, I think it was the Viet Cong, but sometimes when there was a skirmish or there was a firefight and they knew that that they were defeated, they got to get out of there. They knew that for American soldiers, like getting a flag or getting a badge or a medal or a uniform from one of their officers or people was a sort of like a thing. It's a souvenir. Mm-hmm. And so they would actually booby trap stuff like that. They would booby trap flags. They would booby trap shit that they thought the Americans might want to pick up and take. So even though they lost and had to retreat, they were going to make you pay.
They're big on booby traps. Yeah. Like there was, and we never did it. And I'm not saying, but they would cut an ear off a Viet Cong and take the patch off their shirt and hang it on it.
So I was going to ask you about that because I know there's a broad range of humans, and that means a broad range of people that end up in the war. Some people there just doing their duty, and some people just trying to get out of there, and then some people kind of get into it.
Oh God, I'm telling you, some are radical, man. There's a lieutenant that carried a machine gun, an AK-47, mm-hmm. and he instructed his people not to shoot, let him shoot first, because the sound difference between an AK-47 and ours is so much different. So it just confuses the shit out of you when Americans are shooting, they hear the sound of an AK-47 and it's really confusing to them
So the reason I started to go down that path is because you mentioned the ear thing, and there's more than one or two movies, where someone is stringing up a necklace of ears. Um, did you know anybody like that? Did you run into anybody like that
I
who was
don't.
gung
There was
ho?
nothing in our company, but joining companies or platoons did that. I know.
Okay. Okay. You mentioned that. You mentioned that. I can't remember if you said he was a sergeant or just an officer. But you mentioned the guy that wanted to shoot first. Was he one of those guys that like you kind of felt like he was into it a little bit more than maybe
Oh
other
hell
people
yeah,
were into it?
he went home. Oh, I don't know how many times. I don't know how many tours he did over there, but
Yeah,
yeah, he come quite a bit.
yeah. How was that? Well, how'd that make you feel, man? When you're I can't I won't presume to know anything about your moral compass and character or anything like that, but you clearly you didn't want to be in there in the first place, so you're just doing your duty, your due diligence, and trying to get out of there. But then you're knowing that there's some people over here, and it's they're taking it a little bit, they're having a little bit too much fun with it. What was that like? What were your thoughts on it, or did you just kind of block it out and say, "Look, I
You
just got to
can
worry
you
about
don't
me"?
pay attention to that. You basically block it out because you're not going to change them. I mean,
Right.
they're going to do their thing. You know, them people didn't want to be there any more than we did. It's
They're making a different game of it while
I
they're there.
know, it's
So you think it's like a different, like a coping mechanism? Like if I'm gonna be here, I might as well
I think so. You know,
go all out.
they get really wound up, and I'm not saying we didn't either. To the point of shooting someone, it's hell. It's no different shooting pheasants or deer. You didn't look at it. I mean, it was legal. You got rewarded for it.
What kind of rewards?
Oh, like you'd get, like I said, they'd bring beer out, or they'd take you to, like Eagle Beach or someplace like that.
What are you drinking over there?
I got it right here.
Yeah, but what's the drink though?
Oh, Lord Kelvin.
Can I modify?
Mm-hmm. Same thing as Windsor.
I don't know what that is, sir. I'm gonna at least get this experience.
There you go.
And what do? You say a little bit of room temp water in there, huh?
Yeah.
What's that for? What's just to deaden it a little
Yeah,
bit?
that it gets a little.
Did you start drinking this over there?
No, we had a little. Now that we're talking about it, when you came back from the rear, I mean, when you came back from the field to go to the base camp, there's some little Vietnamese. We got cigarettes for nothing. And the little Vietnamese boys, they like Winston, Salem, and filtered cigarettes. And then they would give you marijuana.
Okay.
So we had that to back up on.
I was gonna ask about that, because there's always a variance of opinion. Some people are feeling like, man, it's wartime, dude. We're over here. We might die at any point in time.
That was my feeling.
Yeah, when you come
in the
back,
rear,
yeah, nothing wrong with a joint or two. Did you
Actually, when you smoked that in the rear, you didn't give a shit if you went home or not. I mean, it really relaxed you.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Did you know any friends that got hooked on harder shit?
Oh God, cough medicine of all things. I woke up when we were in the rear, and one guy was walking or crawling on his hands and knees.
Yeah.
And they said he was just gobbling up that cough medicine. He was in supply, so he could get all he wanted.
Oh, okay.
Like Christ.
I wonder how similar that was to the codeine that a lot of young heads today.
I'm thinking
days.
it was probably it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think it's an opiate. I think it has similar effects as an opiate. Lean, they call it. I don't suppose you're very familiar with lean.
Uh-uh.
No, it's a A lot of rappers fuck with me. Nighttime, man. When it got dark, did it get scary?
Not unless, if you haven't seen the enemy for quite a while, you get damn lax, and then
Do you? So you don't get. I almost would think you start to get antsy or feel like shit at any
no,
moment.
you're really relaxed, and until you run into them again, and they give you a little attitude adjustment, then you're on pins and needles again.
Yeah.
It's.
Did you ever have anyone in your company that you really wish wasn't?
They were pretty good. Most of them were good. We had a young fella came in after I was there about 3-4 months, and he chose not to take a rifle. And at that time, the Army was fucking sick of people like that.
Yeah.
That they said, fine, don't take a rifle.
But you're going.
You're going with him. And we got into a little skirmish. And when we did come to the rear, to the camp, Evans, he took a rifle.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, you're sitting out there with, what the hell do you do?
Yeah. What would you say was the most hectic situation you got into?
What I told you about that picking up them people.
I would imagine.
That had to be the toughest. But I was really, not to brag, but I had adrenaline that could do that. I mean, I picked up people that were shot in the head, and we had a lieutenant and a sergeant. We were walking single file, and the point man said, I think there's a sniper up there. And that lieutenant was macho. He said, nah, there's nothing up there. He took point, and we walked about a block, and he got shot in the forehead.
Ugh.
The lieutenant the same way. He ended up on his knees like he was praying. He had his hands folded, and
Yeah.
You want to listen?
No doubt. You basically have to. Would you say that because you said you kind of had the adrenaline for that sort of thing? Does that mean you basically were able to separate or to look at things like objects? When you see a head, it's got a hole in it and that sort of thing.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
I never had a problem with that over there.
That.
Hey, we had a Chinook, a helicopter, the big helicopter with 2 props up here that crashed, and they brought it in with a whole bunch of burnt people in it. And we had to carry them out of there.
What's that like?
Oh, God, it was terrible. The fluid, like when you grabbed them on the wrist, somebody grabbed them on the feet, all that fluid from their skin got into you. God, that was terrible to get off. But
what do you mean? Oh, so it's like
they burnt.
Right, and their skin kind of melts off, right?
Well, the fluid comes out of the skin. And in some cases, if they really got cooked good, and then the meat and...
It was like you're putting on lotion. So
right.
You have the scent of that.
Yep.
Huh.
We go to there's all kinds of gory stories. We go to a reunion every other year. And Barb and I were talking to a friend of ours. He came out of the field, and he got put behind a desk that had to write letters to the parents as to what happened to their kid.
Okay.
And one person couldn't take it anymore, and he sat on top of a piece of Claymore and hand grenades.
Yeah.
Lit the whole damn thing off.
Yeah.
He said we couldn't find pieces. Little pieces of it.
Yeah.
He said, now tell me, what the hell do you put down? What do you write for his? What do you tell his parents?
Right.
Japers.
That's nuts.
I don't know if he ended up telling them missing in action or what.
Was that prevalent in the areas you were in? Suicide of some sort?
No, it was. I guess I never heard of that. And they used to, before I got there, shoot yourself in the foot.
What do you mean?
Take your rifle and shoot yourself in the foot.
Oh, just so you get
then you'd probably send you home, or because you can't do a damn thing over there. But that old shit quit too. They don't let that go on.
What do you mean? How do they? What do you mean? They banded you up and say, okay,
Yeah,
8 weeks, you'll be back out there.
Yeah, you stay there. It's no longer a ride home.
First time you had to shoot somebody, what was that like? I know you.
We really weren't nose to nose out there. We were by, out. It's hard to imagine out in the mountains. You're single file going down, so when you see the enemy, they're a good distance away from you.
Always,
usually, in the mountains, because like when you come down a hill, when the point man reaches the bottom, they're dug in over here. They wait till you get down here, and then they start opening up. That's why typically the point man is usually gone, and then they work on the machine gunner and the ammo carrier.
Okay.
They get the prime ones first.
Can you remember any do's and don'ts when you're going down those mountains, or when you're trekking down the mountain?
You just got to pay attention when you're shooting ahead of you. Just keep in mind, there's our people ahead of you that, just don't be closing your eyes and hammering the area, because we got people in front of you,
In this particular war, there was quite a bit of friendly fire casualties.
I'm sure of it. I'm really sure of it.
But you weren't, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge. They talk about it, it's...
Yeah. Were there any good times? Good memories?
Yeah. It's...
Talk about those.
Eagle Beach, we go there and drink up a storm, and we have a pretty good time there. In the rear too. Like at Christmas, they bring you back for Christmas. And
what happens then? What's Christmas like?
You just same thing. It's a little marijuana and whiskey and a trailer load of beer, and I got so damn pissed up in that when I laid in bed, just a cot, the bed was spinning so damn bad. I put one foot on the ground and put the other foot on the ground, and it still wanted to spin.
Oh, yeah.
God, you got a little too much.
Yeah, no doubt.
21.
No doubt. Oh, man.
And it wasn't tough all the time. We had, in the Ashaw Valley, we didn't run into a lot of trouble all the time. It was just nuisance shit, like, when they'd send you out to check out, there'd be 2 or 3 people over here, or maybe a dozen over here, and you get some bomb strikes in there. And I was lucky. We were lucky up there because other than a few of them battalions that were dug in the mountains, that's where you get in big trouble. Really big trouble.
Yeah. You talk about, the rewards for shooting. Oh, you know what? Real quick, I want to ask about this. I've heard talk of how, whether the Viet Cong or the Vietnamese army, there would be extra rewards for them if they killed someone of rank or officers and that sort of thing. And so is it true that, you didn't salute officers out in the field? You didn't do anything that would indicate who is who type of thing?
No. We never did. Not even at camp. But it wasn't like an army deal. They appreciated you, and you didn't have to do anything.
It just wasn't a necessary thing.
No.
So it wasn't actually a protocol of war. It was just like, we don't do that anyway.
Right. Yep. We didn't.
Okay.
I'm not saying other companies didn't, but we didn't have to do it.
Okay. So tagging on to that whole same thing with the rewards, you talked about it, how if you have a a day with a high body count or whatever. You may come back. There's rewards. They take you to Eagle Beach and all that sort of thing.
They thrive on body count. The lieutenant, I mean, the news media. I mean, news media was up there really big, and they just. That's one thing you're going to hear is body count. Like when the Marines left, we went up north after they did a bunch of bombing up there in the DMZ.
Uh-huh.
And we had to do a body count. Well, we found people buried so shallow, their toes were sticking out of the ground.
Wow.
And one guy I walked up to, he was bloated. And I went through his pockets and he had a picture of his kid, little boy. God damn, that was a little touching, but yeah, they're big on body counts. And they don't always tell the truth, because I told my brother one time I was on a particular fire base, which we did get mortared, and we did return fire. And then the news media, it was on the news in Iowa here somewhere where he lived. And they had a hell of a body count compared to what we actually had, you know.
Okay.
That just got blown out of proportion.
Describe what it was like getting mortared for our listeners who have no idea what mortars are, what that means, what it's like.
Yeah, mortars, it's a, I don't know, I want to say that it's a tube where you stick a shell in it, and you point it, you know, the shell goes down and ignites and goes up in the air and towards you. And it's got a pretty good kick. I mean, it's shrapnel is what it is. It's, well, like when we call, I'm trying to figure out how to say, when we call in a mortar, like if our people, we have a mortar platoon. So we call in and say, we want mortars at this location. Same, again, they'll send the smoke out first.
Yeah.
And then you tell them where you want it from that smoke.
Okay.
And then then they can just pour it to it, you know, and it raises hell with them. And same with us too. When we receive them, it's not, you can hear them little buggers coming, whistling a little bit, you know. And
so the shrapnel is the real threat.
Oh yeah, it'll do you in.
What about a particular spot or area might make you want to say, hey, we want to call in mortars here? What is it, because you want to flush them out of an area? Yep. You believe they're there, but you need them to get raised up. Okay.
You know, and that's what they do to us too. And you want to get rid of them damn little annoying things.
Okay.
And that's when you call in the jets or return fire or.
So back to the whole rewards thing, and I'm circling back around to this because I know you didn't really want to go at the time. Wasn't your thing. And I've there's a series called Vietnam Voices, and it's by an editor, Gerald Ehrlich, and I've watched, honestly, with no exaggeration, probably 50 hours worth of interviews of different vets and stuff, talking about their experiences and that sort of thing. And I remember one guy who he didn't want to be there at the time, and he also said that I think he was listed as a conscientious objector at the time. And I think I remember him saying something to the effect of there was a firefight and he fell. He fell through no fault of it was just clumsiness, was some shit like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Messed up his ankle or his leg or something like that. I think it was a fracture or a break or whatever. And there ended up, I can't remember if it was a Purple Heart or something else that afterwards, you know, they tried to offer to him. And he mentioned something to the effect of there were some people during that time frame who they didn't want it. They didn't want it because it was like, fuck you to the Army anyway. The disposition towards the Army was like, fuck you too. I'm fighting for you, but I don't like you any more than these motherfuckers that we shooting. Does that sound familiar to you? Did you know anybody like that? How did you feel?
I can tell you one, and that was me. I got shrapnel I got shrapnel in my head. I don't know where the hell it came from. I mean, if it was ours or theirs, or thinking it was probably ours from a hand grenade. And I told the lieutenant or the medic about it. He said, "Oh shit, you'll be all right. It'll come out." Well, after my fucking head swelled up, I had him come over. It was hot. Yeah, he said, "We better take you in." So he took me in. They pulled the shrapnel out and sent me right back out in the field again because, it was right up in here. It wasn't.
Hold on, Butch. Hold on. I like how you casually talking about metal objects going in your head like it ain't shit. All right, so hold on. Let me slow it down here real quick. Under what circumstances did you end up with shrapnel? What happened that caused this? What was going down?
Okay, when you're on a fire base, sometimes throughout the day or night, somebody comes up and says, "We're getting attacked."
Okay.
Now, they'll tell you, okay, at 12 o'clock, everybody up and start throwing shit out there. Shooting, M60, anything you got, you throw. Well, I'm thinking, and there was enemy out there, but I'm thinking maybe it was one of our hand grenades or something. I don't know where in the hell it came from, but I happened to stick my head up at the wrong time. I didn't have a helmet on. There again, my fault.
Why didn't you?
I kind of hated them.
Why?
They're heavy. They're heavy.
Hold on.
Yeah, they're heavy. A lot of them, we didn't wear them all the time.
When I watch those movies, dude, those things look like they'll slip right the fuck off at any moment.
Oh, they would, yeah. It just stops up. Like one of our guys, the one from Missouri, was in a helicopter and he got shot in the ass, went right through the floor of the helicopter. So ever since then, when we got in the helicopter, we sat in our fucking helmet.
Okay.
So we wouldn't get shot.
Okay, so they do have a use.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're out there.
So then, we did get, I did get shot and I did get the stuff removed. And then my hometown, the VA officer called and said that I had a Purple Heart. I said, "No, I don't. I am probably not." "Well, you received shrapnel, didn't you? Did you get shot?" I said, "No," but I said, "I did get some shrapnel." And I said, "Bullshit. I ain't taking that. I don't know that's." To me, when you get shot, when you get a Purple Heart, you really, really deserve it. And I'm not sure that this was deservable.
Yeah, and I mean, you picked up friends in pieces. And
Yeah.
shit, like people who gave the ultimate sacrifice and shit. So I can imagine for you, it's like, come on, man.
That ain't a.
Yeah.
If I'd have got shot, yeah, I'd have took it, but. Yeah, it's.
What were race relations like in the thick of things at that time?
Like I told you, I never was around Southern people and I never was around Black people where we were from. And then I get thrown in there and I thought I blended right in.
Hold on. Are you saying you could dance?
Yeah. So I got this.
Oh, you skipped right over my question, huh?
I got this black guy that's with me carrying the ammunition. We're out in the field.
Okay.
We get along peachy cream. Hell, we had fun. I mean, that's the one I picked up too, by the way.
Right.
Anyway, we go to the field. I mean, we go to the rear. And then he's with his group of people. And of course, I'm with mine.
Mm.
If we meet on a walkway, he'll nod at me.
Yeah.
But that's it.
I understand it. I totally understand it. I totally understand exactly what you mean.
It was like he didn't want them to know that we were friends or something. Hell, I didn't. But I kind of understood where he was coming from. I never made an issue out of it. But
yeah.
In the way Southern people, you didn't want to be in a hurry because, by God, they don't move too fast.
Yeah.
The ones I was with, I tell you, of course, what the hell's the difference? Why, Why be in a hurry, I guess.
I hear you. Oh, have you ever seen any movie that you feel like properly depicts what was going down over there?
You know, some of them get a little far-fetched, but I guess they're pretty good, I guess. I mean, there's a little bit too much Rambo in there, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and there's too much authority from, like we talked about, like lieutenants saluting and them telling you to do this and do that. You know, that.
Yeah, it would seem like when you actually are in real life or death situations, people will relax on that shit a little bit. Like, I don't need you to show me that shit. Like, dude, we can be killed in a moment.
And yeah, and there comes a time when they tell you to do shit and you think you're going to die. Mm-hmm. I mean, they can kiss my butt because I ain't going to do it.
What happens then?
Nothing. I mean, they never did reprimand us for that. I had a friend at the retirement reunion, and he told me he was there when I picked up these people, me and the lieutenant, and he said, that son of a bitch and lieutenant tried to kill us. Right in the fucking reunion. I thought, wow. He meant it too.
Yeah. Nice.
And he did. I mean, that was goddamn stupid to keep going down there. I don't know how many people got hurt or killed, but it must have been a bunch of them because, God, you know, when I only had 2-3 weeks to go. We were getting shot at coming in there. I hopped off the helicopter after we did get down, and I was going to go in a foxhole, but the foxhole was full of other people. So I laid on my belly and hung onto a fucking tree right next to him.
Wow.
And I just prayed I wouldn't. Yeah. That just was uncalled for.
Well, I've kind of already touched on this question, but we actually have a unique opportunity in this moment, just because of your tenure and your time on this earth. So you've talked a little bit about, you know, not having too big of an issue. And I've heard many other vets say that when it comes to race and that sort of thing, you know, because you're out there, there's bullets flying. And at some point you just start saying, I don't care how the next motherfucker looks as long as he's got my back. But the Civil Rights Act had just occurred in like 1964. You deployed 1969. You were around 21 at that time. Give me some insight I haven't been able to gain from anyone else. And this is what I mean about it being a unique opportunity. What was it like in St. Paul or wherever it was to suddenly have a situation where, well, number one, did you experience or see segregation during your lifetime in St. Paul? Is that just the way it was?
I just worked there for a short period of time.
In St. Paul?
Yeah, I lived in a small town where Melissa, you know, we grew up at.
I don't even know our audience has no idea who the hell Melissa is.
Oh, my daughter. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we lived in a small town.
Ladies and gentlemen, W.T.F.P, Worst Things First podcast would like to introduce Melissa, who was Butch's daughter at this time. Silent round of applause. Sorry, Butch.
So anyway, I guess I did forget to tell you this. Okay, we're in the rear at the camp.
Okay.
We got a notice. Get your shit together, board the helicopters. We're going out in the field. Where? You'll know when we get there.
Yeah.
I look around and here, my friend wasn't there. My black friend.
Yeah.
And no black people were there.
Yeah.
I said, what the hell is going on? Then I found out they said, this isn't our black ass war.
Yeah.
And they all stayed. And Life or Look magazine was back there then.
Say that again. What was that?
Life and Look magazine.
Okay.
One of the two were there and wrote an article on it. And I've never been able to find it. They say they wrote an article on it, but anyway, we went out in the field without them. And pretty soon they come back, or slowly came back out there. But
dude, I actually cannot express enough how grateful I am for this opportunity, because not only am I honored to be in your presence, somebody that went through what you went through, and I'm not saying that to tickle your balls because we're just two dudes, right? But also just because the insight that can be provided here, and two cultures, people from two different cultures being able to like level with each other and that sort of thing. Growing up as a black person, and even before me, my father and my father's father, and my father's father, there was always that sentiment of a divide within our culture. And some would say, if you want to make something of yourself and not die or end up on the street or something like that, you need to go do something respectable, like join the military. And then the other side of the culture that says you'd be a fool to ever fight a white man's war, right? And so part of the sentiment that was expressed by Ali and other people, and I know that there was propaganda and flyers that were being strategically placed by people from Vietnam, saying things like, black people, this isn't your war, go home. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That sort of thing. Yep. Well, that is a thing. While I can't verify that outside of you just saying, yeah, like you just did, what I do know is culturally, that's something that's been passed up through our ranks forever, which is like, dude, if we're not being treated the way that we should be here, why would we ever go and kill someone else on behalf of this government type of thing? Mm-hmm. And, it's dope, and it's interesting that I get to talk to you about this. And you shared what you just shared with me, because I could see that. I could see a group of people deciding to themselves, hold up, hold on, what are we doing here? What are we doing it for? And this is actually a perfect segue to the reception once everyone returned from the war, because the lore that is, or the story that is passed down in the black community is we went over there and we did all that, fought on behalf of the country, and you come back, you get spat on.
Right. Yep. Goddamn. I tell you what was really sad when you come home, when people come home from a war today, they really get rewarded. Yeah. When I come home, 2 fucking people were waiting for me, my mom and sister. Mm-hmm. And nobody gave a shit that you were gone. Right. They didn't give a shit what you did, Yeah. It was a bad deal.
Yeah, that's crazy shit.
But there again, I just got an attitude. I don't give a shit,
Yeah. I kind of identify with that attitude. So hold on. Okay, so we got sidetracked, and it was your fault, but I'm going to accept responsibility for it. We were on the whole thing of the Civil Rights Act 64. It got passed. That superseded anything that would allow for segregation. I threw us off by saying St. Paul, and you were like, "No, I was just in St. Paul for a little bit." And then you brought up this person no one's ever heard of named Melissa, and where we were going with this whole thing was, was it like for a white man such as yourself at a time frame where all of a sudden this Civil Rights Act takes place and integration begins to happen? Is that something you remember?
No, I don't. I didn't. I really didn't pay that much attention to.
Okay. So we talked about the reception, or lack thereof. How long was it before anybody had any concerns about Agent Orange?
I never knew nothing about it until a lady called. I get paid on that today because a lady called and told me to go to the VA and get that checked out. VA officer. So yeah, I get paid $450 a month for that. And I said, I'm not sure where Agent Orange was. And the guy says to me, a friend of mine said, "You dumbass, you walked in it every day, like in a fire base. They killed all the foliage around the fire base, in the fire base, all the foliage along the waterway, the rivers, so you could see shit coming."
Mm-hmm. You know, it's crazy that the company that produced that is also the #1 seed supplier for the country.
DDT, wasn't it? Or
there's that too. There's atrazine as well. There's Roundup soybean.
Yeah.
Monsanto does a lot of that shit. And if you were to go, even if you were to decide right now, I want to grow my own garden and I want to use organic methods when doing so, the fucked up thing is that there's a super high percentage that the source that the seed will come from whoever you buy it from, is actually from the same company that genetically modifies those seeds, and they come out with the pesticides that kind of work in conjunction with those so that those crops can grow, but they're resistant to being killed by those pesticides. Monsanto. Out of all the shit we said, this is the thing that right there got you the quietest. It seems like all of a sudden we're just super quiet.
What's that? Yeah, I have no. Like I said, I never was around. Stuff like that.
So you get $450 for shit that you don't even know why you get it.
No,
man, you need to let me hold $20 a month, dude. Like a month.
$450 is what they give me. Yeah, and then so I get this heart bypass.
Okay.
And they cut here, of course, and open you up.
Yeah.
Then I get a letter. Told me to go to a hospital to get that scar measured.
Okay.
And there's 3 dots here where they stick tubes in.
Mm-hmm.
And they took a vein out of my leg and they measured that. And then my wife, Barb, says to me one day, "Where'd this $8,500 come from that's in her bank account?" That's what it was for.
Man, that's what's up. What'd you
Ain't
say?
that sick?
It is sick, but what'd you say? Did you say none of your business? Or what'd you
Shut up and don't ask.
What you about? All right, man. Now check this out. We are getting close to closing out. I do want to give you an opportunity to talk about anything that my line of questioning hasn't really given you the opportunity to do. But before I do that, if you're okay with it, I want to jump to the questions from our listeners. Okay. Number 1 question, do you feel something was taken from you that you can't get back from being in the war?
No, not really. It was a good experience, but I really wouldn't do it again.
Okay. Do you feel war changes who people are at the core, or are there things that really can't ever change that part of you?
It was... I don't think I could change. I mean, it was a good experience and I learned a lot. And there again, I don't think I'd change or it changed me. Or
what would you say is your biggest regret or biggest accomplishment? I guess those are 2 different questions. Can you answer both?
Well, I don't regret going, but
Oh yeah, it wasn't your fault.
when I don't, yeah. I was, I'm happy that I could help. I felt I did a really good job by helping people over there.
Yeah.
Some that were weaker than me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you got to tell a guy to cheer up when his wife got remarried, you got to pat him on the back and give him a little. I was good at shit like that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
People that are.
No,
because I just went through it. I was forlorn too, but you get to be a tough. I mean, hardcore.
Yeah.
I'm not hardcore now, but
I do think I understand that. Sometimes when you're in like a real fucked up situation, there are like small individual victories that you can have, moral victories or moral wins as they call them, where there's a growth or an epiphany someone has or some insight you help someone gain, and that may make them better and you better for having shared it with them. and that's still different and separate from the whole overarching issue that's going on right now.
You know, I had a friend, I was after Vietnam, I was in the fire department for 30 years.
Okay.
Same thing picked up on me. I have a friend, he said to me, we had some gory things too.
Yeah.
And he said, how in the fuck do you do that? Just me and the mortician picked up a person and one other guy. He said, don't that bother you? And I said, it really don't. And when you know you got to do it, you do it.
Yeah.
I'm not a Rambo, but I can do that.
So, and maybe now after hearing your thoughts and stuff, this question doesn't make the most sense for me to ask. But again, these are questions from our listeners. Is a normal life possible after coming back?
Yes, it is. And I do have a normal life. You got to let that shit lay. I mean, there's people, and I can tell you, I know people that aren't normal and they just won't fucking leave it lay. They dwell on it and dwell on it. God damn it, man. It's been 50 years. Idle down. You got to forget what happened, And then what helps too, I didn't think it would, but it really does, is every other year going to these reunions and visiting with your friends. And, you talk about what happened and what could have been done different and why,
So you actually seem to be able to handle the whole thing more so than a lot of the people. As soon as you mentioned going to reunions, I was like, okay, well, you've often used the phrase throughout this conversation, getting your shit together. And it kind of feels like, okay, Butch sounds like he kind of got his shit together, because there's some people, they can't go to those reunions, can't show up to that.
I know. See, they called a lady, or called one of my friends, was my friend, or is my friend, and asked him to come. And that lady, his mother, said, don't you people ever call here again. I mean, there are some bad feelings out there yet.
Yeah.
50 years later, for Christ's sake.
Are you a stranger to PTSD then?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay. Out of everything, what would you say is your most memorable experience?
Coming home. I'd have to say.
What'd you do? What was the first thing you did? What was the first thing you ate when you got home?
I can't even remember. Probably mom's chicken or so. She's a hell of a cook. But
Okay.
I stayed with her for a little bit. My sister, very first night, I stayed in mom's house. Mom's bed, she went upstairs. She insisted I stay there. My sister come and woke me up, and I goddamn near hit her. I come out swinging because I wasn't used to that. Somebody coming up to me and shaking me like, holy fuck, I about did her in.
So there's nothing that haunts you to this day? Then?
No.
That's the last question.
No, not that. I got to tell you, when we went to Louisiana, we went to a museum. I think it was a World War II deal. Okay. We went to a goddamn, I shouldn't have went in there, but it was a 3D deal, with speakers all over hell.
Oh, yeah.
And then pretty soon they started bombing. God damn it, I was jumping over here and then jumping over there because I didn't know they were coming.
Yeah.
And my buddy next to me said, will you sit the fuck still?
Yeah.
And you can do that to me today. I mean, if somebody shoots or throws a firecracker, I still cringe a little bit.
So it could be said that perhaps you're on the spectrum, but on the milder end of things.
Oh yeah, it's just shit like that. It'll get your attention. Yeah. You never forget it. I don't think it's.
Is there anything you like to say or haven't been able to say that that my line of questioning hasn't provided the opportunity for?
I think we pretty well got it covered. We covered everything pretty good, I think. You know, I'm glad to talk to people, or like to you and people, you know, because they always hear the worst of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, you said some fucked up shit.
I know,
it's just,
but
you know, it's just been cool.
But it's a truth. I mean,
yeah, no doubt. And I'm with that. You know,
yeah.
No one owns truth, and no one can change it. So I don't know that
we got some people that come up with the goddamnest stuff at home.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure they were in war.
Yeah.
You know.
Like what?
Well, he told a couple of guys that he was underwater for 3 days.
Who is he? Give us his first and last name right now, bud.
I can't. He was under the water, breathing through a straw. We call him Rambo. For 3 days, for Christ's sake. You know, that's bullshit. You know where he got that from?
One of the coffee straws, too. The super thin red joints.
He got that from Rambo. There was a movie where Rambo doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm damn sure that's where he got it from.
Mm.
He wasn't in the water for no 3 days.
All right, Butch. So if you ain't going to bust them out, we're going to go ahead and close out.
All right.
And to our audience, you know what time it is, and you got to love what time it was. Once again, you were back with W.T.F.P, the Worst Things First podcast. We out. Peace. Much love for rocking with this episode of W.T.F.P. If you enjoyed what you heard today and want to hear more honest discourse with interesting people from ordinary walks of life, please like and share this clip. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Every walk of life has a downside, and we begin the conversation there. This is Worst Things First, the podcast.